was a very good exercise, very instructive, and we won the war.
At times it was sheer terror when one had to think about one's training and try and remember everything at once.
We do it because it's fun, we enjoy it, we don't do it for the money, we just want to be there.
Well, the exercise was very worthwhile, harder than what I thought. Hell of a lot of equipment out there.
Well, I thought the TA proved that they were as good as the regular army.
The worst part was never seeing any of the enemy, only the ones who had a dead who'd walked past us.
A good exercise exposes things that need to be put right and shows off what is good, and Lionheart did both. In particular, it vindicated our policy of reinforcing 1st British Corps quickly and effectively. As Inspector General, perhaps I may just give a special word of credit to the TA, who turned up in good numbers, survived what was for many a long and tedious journey, and we learned some valuable lessons there, and mostly gave a super account of themselves when they got there.
This is the border between West and East Germany. For the present, it marks the limit of Russia's westward expansion. The Russian record for reading halt signs at borders isn't good. Behind this iron curtain are once independent countries, some of whose names are now barely familiar, like Estonia, Lithuania and Latvia. Also Romania, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, Poland and a third of Germany itself. All now part of the Russian Empire and bound together by the Warsaw Pact treaties. Beyond this fence lies in readiness a highly mobile, primarily offensive military force that vastly outnumbers our NATO forces. They have a superiority of nearly 3 to 1 in both tanks and artillery, and over 2 to 1 in combat aircraft. Against this background, Exercise Lionheart was to demonstrate to them and to us our fighting ability, and in particular our capacity to quickly double the fighting strength of the British Army on the Rhine. It began in September 1984.
17,000 regular soldiers assembled in their barracks, and a complicated and difficult movement plan made to transport them to the continent. At the same time, 30,000 territorial soldiers must be mobilized, assembled in their TA centers, and sent to the ports and the airfields to get to the exercise in Germany, and 4,000 reservists too. So for the United Kingdom, the exercise begins here, in the homes and the barracks of this country.
Very good, Daddy's hat. Yeah? Very good, Daddy's hat.
The territorials are part-time soldiers but play a vital role in Britain's defence. In times of war, they form fighting units that operate alongside units of the regular army. On Exercise Lionheart, they were to form nearly 2/3 of the total reinforcement to Britain's army on the Rhine.
Bye-bye.
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 Don't forget my present, Dad.
All right.
Nurse Vicky Dixon is also Private Dixon, and for her the exercise begins on Saturday, September the 15th, when she reports to her local TA centre. There are more than 500 of these centres throughout the United Kingdom, and in all 71,000 territorials. In 6 years' time, though, it'll rise to 86,000. Moving with the TA are units of the regular army. This is the 4th Royal Tank Regiment loading its Chieftain tanks at Tidworth. In total, Lionheart involved movement across the Channel of some 56,000 personnel and 14,000 vehicles. It was by far the biggest British mobilization of troops since the Second World War. The journey began with transport of troops with all their equipment from their bases throughout the UK to the seaports and airfields for embarkation to the continent. These are the new Saxon armoured personnel carriers with which the TA will be equipped. Vehicles, so far as possible, were scheduled to move by sea, mainly from Dover, Liverpool, North Shields, Southampton, Folkestone and Hull. Troops were moved from both military and civilian airfields. All these movements were the results of months of detailed liaison and planning with the civilian agencies involved.
Now, you will all know that the Falklands campaign showed the extent to which we are dependent on the civil transport industry of the country to move the United Kingdom's army to an operational theatre. And this applies just as much to the reinforcement of Germany.
In this audience are many of the most senior people in charge of the communications and transportation systems in the UK. In peacetime, an exercise such as Lionheart depends totally on their cooperation and ingenuity in combining the special military requirements with the need to maintain normal civilian services. At nearly all ports, special parking, loading facilities, office space and catering were provided. Communications were made available, and so was space for safe storage of weapons.
You are a TA movement and transport. So you don't have a job. Where do you live? Are you enjoying it? It's a massive enterprise, and so far there have been no serious hitches at all. I think it's a great success. So things are running smoothly? Yeah, they're running very smoothly. Amazingly so. Amazing compared to what might be going on.
Civilian airports used included Glasgow, Manchester, Newcastle, Heathrow, Gatwick and Luton. Again, this was made possible by the cooperation of the airlines and the civil aviation authorities. The business of coordinating troops, equipment and vehicles, which often had to travel by different routes, inevitably meant long waits for some. For many, it was their first taste of the Spartan experience of travel by RAF Hercules.
May I have your attention, please, gentlemen? Smoking, we regret, is not permitted on or in the vicinity of the aircraft. In other words, gentlemen, when you leave this lounge, we'd ask you to put out all smoking material. Alcohol is not to be consumed on RAF aircraft. It must be emphasised that the Hercules is not designed for passenger comfort, as this aircraft is primarily used for the carriage of cargo. For this reason, we regret there are no facilities for providing hot meals in flight. The toilet facilities are somewhat limited and lacking in privacy. The Hercules is also a very noisy aircraft.
Continent, the exercise began with the establishment of a line of communication to receive all the troops, mostly coming into the main German airfields, and all their vehicles and trailers, which travelled in 150 ships across the Channel and North Sea from all of the main East Coast ports.
As the British vehicles and drivers converged on Zeebrugge, Calais and Ostend, other German, Dutch, US and Commonwealth forces were joining the exercise. In total, over 131,000 troops were to take part in Lionheart. Many drivers had now been travelling a long time. Their route now took them nearly 200 miles along the E3 motorway, past Eindhoven and through Venlo into Germany.
Come on!
This is the staging stop at Leyte. Each TA soldier spends a fortnight a year on full-time training and a number of weekends and training evenings as well, practicing for his job as a soldier. His basic pay and the hardships he experiences are virtually the same as for his regular counterpart. Once into Germany, vehicles, equipment and troops are reunited into formed units. Now the pace changes and the combat phase of the exercise, termed Spearpoint, begins. Diplomacy has failed, and from the east, Warsaw packed forces in the form of Allied armoured brigades commanded by a German general are advancing rapidly. Troops are moving forward across the Rhine to meet them by every possible means, including helicopter. Many of the bridges are assumed to have been destroyed by enemy airstrikes. First, to see contact with the enemy are reconnaissance units of light armour supported by infantry. They're backed here by the new tracked Rapier batteries, which are extremely effective against low-flying aircraft. The use of light armour, with which some TA units are equipped, is to locate, identify, and if necessary, engage the enemy.
Halt! Reverse! Cars left! On!
Our tanks now move out.
Echo 2 on Alpha, Echo 2 1. Reference the obstacle to your front. Plus and right of that there's a wood. Confirm that the corner of that wood is clear, over. Contact, the grid 169472. The 2 leopards in field. I'm engaging. Over.
Initiative now passes more and more from the staff to commanders in the field and ultimately, of course, to individual soldiers. It's this highly realistic battle practice that develops the skills and experience that, as was proved most recently in the Falklands, can defeat a numerically superior force. Out of the chaos of battle, the umpires decide who is winning the deadly game of move and counter-move. According to the umpires, the Russians are beaten into retreat. In pursuit, bridge building and the crossing of inhospitable country is a major role for the TA. For the exercise, all casualties were treated exactly as if they were real. They were moved back by the quickest means available to one of the battlefield hospitals, many of which were staffed by the TA. 85% of the medical backup for the 1st British Corps is provided by the Territorial Army. "15 days later, our heroes make their way home. During these 2 weeks, their employers will have missed these men and women, but their time was well spent. The army needed them, and so will the country too on the day.
It was quite a good exercise, very tiring, but it was good training value, and it was good because we got the teamwork together for the fortnight, which we don't normally get on the weekend exercises.
We found it quite hard in reality trying to get over there with fatigue and everything else, but saying all that, it's been an experience well worth being on.
It was a long 2 weeks, it was hard, it showed us a lot of things, right and wrong. German people were happy to see us there and we were happy to see them, and on the whole it was a pretty good exercise, and it's back to work on Monday.